evening, ladies and gentlemen. And I welcome all of you back once again to another National Anthem reaction video where tonight, ladies and gentlemen, another fairly short one, perhaps, yes. However, one of the things I do kind of want to emphasize is that there is some level of context that I do know about Libya, mostly from things I've seen on the news, and, well, I feel like we should just sort of get to that. And, well, I'm not entirely sure about just how much I could showcase here, because a lot of it shows soldiers, a lot of it shows news about terrible flooding across all of Libya. Yeah, so I feel like, again, I'm just gonna one of the big things that I kind of I don't think I can showcase much of this at all. Actually, it's kind of unfortunate because I'll just tell you guys what I definitely will be able to tell you. You see this right here, ladies and gentlemen, this flag, is that this flag only came into effect in late 2011. And I remember watching this on the news when I was 13, and I was in Greece at the time when I heard about this, about then dictator of Libya, Colonel Gaddafi, had finally basically the populace staged a coup to completely remove him from power. And what happened, this was late August of 2011, is that Colonel Gaddafi basically went on the run, and a lot of people thought he was hiding in somewhere in Tripoli, and basically it began one of the biggest public manhunts in history. And bear in mind, the police were not after Gaddafi. Well, to be honest, I think the police probably were after Gaddafi as well, because you have to understand is that if the police were there to protect Gaddafi, then an all-out civil war would have broken out. And yeah, you could probably imagine as well that there was no way that was going to happen. And basically they found Gaddafi hiding in a pipe, and he was murdered therein. And this was and they found him roughly 2.5 weeks after he had basically fled. But obviously he didn't get very far, because I think by that point, he couldn't travel by air, he couldn't travel by car, because he would have just been swarmed, and they would have eaten the entire car or plane alive by that point. And yeah, that's just objectively the best things I could probably say right now about Libya, because I'm really not too sure about if there's much else. Oh, it's called 3 months after Storm Daniel. What happened to Libya's flood damage? So we certainly will be able to talk a little bit. Again, I sort of have to be a little bit careful about exactly what I say, because there's certain things about, again, just how dangerous Libya is still following Gaddafi's death, because again, that's sort of when the coverage about Libya sort of died off. And because I don't follow or watch Al Jazeera, I wouldn't have any other reference for what would go on in northern Africa generally. And by the way, also, this flag was brought about to completely replace the old flag. And for those who don't remember what the old flag used to look like, well, here's your answer. I'm not joking. It was just a green flag. That's it. That is... And bear in mind, I just want to illustrate something as well. This is the history of Libya's flags. It went from the flag we knew from today, that went from 51 to 69, what sort of looked like Egypt's flag without its design in the middle. Then it went through basically a different sort of design, the ones the Egyptians use. Then from 1977, it was just a plain green flag. And it was then obviously replaced. I don't know whether or not this was because, Gaddafi was in charge as far back as 1969, but it was something like he spent like 40 years of his life in charge of Libya, but I'm not entirely sure about this. And by the way, somebody literally said that the old flag of Libya is literally perfect by saying keep it simple, be meaningful, use a small amount of colors, no lettering or seals, be original or related. I'm going to assume that this was, he made it was meant to be a joke, because how exactly that looks so much better as a flag and something that you can understand what it is, you know exactly what it's meant to represent, and it just works. Because, again, when you run with it for as far back as 1951, then it makes sense. It's like restoring Libya to its glory before, 40 years of savage dictatorship. And with that being said out of the way, it'll be, of course, some interest to know about whether or not they changed the national anthem once Gaddafi had been removed and killed. But for the sake of accuracy, we are going to go with one that I think is more associated with after Gaddafi's death. So we'll wait and see if that comes to fruition. So please rise, ladies and gentlemen, for the national anthem of Libya. What I found certainly most interesting is that we will never be enchained again. So, yeah, you know what? Actually, to be honest, I recognized Belady, Belady, Belady because that was the Egyptian national anthem, and it was something that came into play after they overthrew their royalty as well. So you get the idea that this was absolutely designed with the intention of letting it know that Libya is now a democracy of its own. I think Libya is a democracy of its own because, well, it would be very strange to know exactly why they would, go back and they would let what happened with Gaddafi go over again and stuff like that. One thing I do say is pretty also interesting is, what was this here? No matter the death toll, if you've been saved. I must admit, that's the first time I've ever heard that mentioned in a national anthem before. But I'm going to assume, for the lack of a better term, that it's we will fight to the death. We will sacrifice ourselves. We will put ourselves on the line for our homeland. I think that's maybe what they were trying to get across, but it's joyous, upbeat, and it's kind of meant to be more about we are glad to have our homeland back, and it feels like their homeland properly this time. That's what I believe it was obviously trying to communicate, and I like it for that. What else can I say? I like it. So anyway, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this reaction video to Libya, 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 the national anthem of whatever else, Libya. Please make sure to leave all your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below, because we want to know what you thought of Libya's national anthem for yourselves, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.